Okay, so for today, our topic actually is about global e-business and collaboration. So our first intended learning outcome. So after this lesson, you will be able to answer the following questions. So what are the business processes? How they were related to information system? How do systems serve the different managed groups in business? How do systems that link the enterprise improve organizational performance? So why are systems for collaborations and teamwork so important, and technology that do they use? And what is the role of information system functions in business? So we're looking forward that we could able to answer all those questions right after this topic. Now, Cheers. So in order to operate a business, it must deal with many different pieces of information about suppliers, customers, employees, invoice, and payments. And of course, their products and services. No? They must organize work activities that use this information to operate efficiently and enhance the overall performance of the firm. Information system makes it possible to firms to manage all their informations, make better decisions, and improve the execution of their business processes. So business processes refers to a manner in which work is organized, coordinated, focused to produce a valuable product or service. So business processes are the collection of activities required to produce a product or service. And these activities are supported by flows of materials, informations, and knowledge to the unique ways in which activities or organizations coordinate work, information, and knowledge, and the ways in which management chooses to coordinate work. So to a large extent, the performance of a business firms depends on how well its business processes are designed and coordinated. So an organization business processes can be source of competitive strength if they enable the organizations to innovate, no, or to execute better than its rival. Of course, business processes can also be liabilities if they are based on outdated ways of working that impede organizational responsiveness and efficiency. So every business can be seen as a collection of business processes, some of which are part of larger encompassing processes. So for instance, excuse, designing a new sailboat model, manufacturing components, assembling the finished boat, and revising the design and construction are all part of overall production process. So many business marketing functions responsible for identifying customers, and the human resource function is responsible for hiring employees. So of course, exactly how do information system improve business processes? Okay, so information system automate many steps in business processes, no, that were formerly performed manually, such as checking a client's credit, generating an invoice and shipping order. But today, information technology can do much more. New technology can actually change the flow of information, making it possible for many more people to access and share information, replacing sequential steps actually, no? With tasks that can be performed. So simultaneously eliminating delays in decision making. So new information technology frequently changes the way of a business works and supports entirely new business models. So downloading a Kindle ebook from Amazon, buying a computer online at Best Buy, and downloading a music track from iTunes are entirely new business process based on new business models. That could be inconceivable without today's information technology. That's why it is important to pay close attention to business processes, both in your information system course and in your in the business career, no, in your future career. By analyzing business processes, you can achieve a very clear understanding of how a business actually works. Moreover, by conducting a business process analysis, you will also begin uh, to understand how to change the business by improving its processes to make it more efficient or effective. So throughout the discussion, we examine business processes with a view to understanding how they might be improved by using information technology to achieve, of course, greater efficiency, innovation, and customer service. So at present, even in all private agency, they must, of course, consider the the use of information technology, some available software, cloud computing, and adapting some cybersecurity for to secure their data, their information, even their business models, and so on. Now, a typical business organization has system supporting processes for each of the major business functions. Like, of course, systems for sales and marketing, manufacturing, and production. Lahat ngayon computerized, di po ba? Most commonly, finance and accounting. So we have a lot of accounting software available intended for finance like SAP, and human resources. So you can find example of system for each of these business functions in the learning, of course, discussion. So functional system that operates independently of each other, are becoming a thing of the past because they cannot easily share information to support cross-functional business processes. So many had been replaced with large-scale cross-functional systems that integrate the activities of relative business processes and organizational units. So a typical firm also has a different system supporting the decision-making needs of each of the main management groups. Operational management, middle management, and senior management each use system to support the decision they must make to run the company or the business. Again, a business firm has system to support different groups of level of management. And this system include transaction processing system, management information system, decision support system, and system for business intelligence. Now, operational management needs systems that keep track of the elementary activities in transaction of the organization, such as sales, receipt, cash deposits, payroll, credit decisions, and the flow, of course, of materials in the factory. So, transaction processing system provide this kind of information. Yun ang tinatawag natin TPS. TPS is a computerized system that performs and record the daily routine transactions necessary to conduct business, such as sale order, entry, hotel reservation, payroll, employee record keeping, and shipping. So, the principal purpose of system is at this level is to answer routine question and to track the flow of transaction through the organizations. However, how many parts are inventory? What happened to Mr. De La Cruz payments? To answer this kind of question, information generally must be easily available, current and accurate. So at the operation level, task, resources, and goals are predefined and highly structured. So the decision to grant credit to a customer, for instance, is made by a lower level supervisor according to the predefined criteria. All that must be determined is whether the customer meets the criteria. Okay? So, so most commonly, yung mga payroll, computerized na. Now, the middle management needs system to help with monitoring, controlling, decision-making, and administrative activities. So the principal question addressed by such system is that, are things working well? So the term management information system also designate a specific category of information system serving middle management. So MIS or management information system provide middle managers with reports on the organization's current performance. And this information is used to monitor and control the business and predict future performance. Because MIS summarize and report on the company's basic operations using data supplied by transaction processing system. So the basic transaction data from TPS or the transaction processing system are compressed and usually presented in reports that are produced on a regular schedule. Today, many of these reports are delivered online, we have typical MIS transformation transactional level data from order process up to, of course, production, accounting into MIS files that are used to provide managers with reports. No? So MIS serve managers primarily interested in weekly, monthly, and yearly results. And this system typically provide answers to routine questions that have been specified in advance and have a predefined procedures for answering them. So for instance, MIS report might list the total pounds of lecture used this quarter by a fast food chain or compare total annual sales figure for specific products to plan targets. So this system generally are not flexible and have little analytical capability because most MIS use simple routines such as summaries and comparisons as opposed to sophisticated mathematical models or statistical techniques. In contrast, we have decision support system, no? DSS, hindi siya DDS DSS, support more non-routine decision making. So they focus on problems that are unique and rapidly changing for which the procedure for arriving at a solution may not be fully predefined in advance. No? They try to answer questions such as this. No? What would be the impact on production schedules if we were to double sales in the month of December? So what would happen to our return of investment if factory schedule were delayed for 6 months? Although DSS or Decision Support System use internal information from TPS and MIS, they often bring prices of competitors. No? So this system use a variety model to analyze the data and are designed so that user can work with them directly. So an interesting small but powerful DSS, no DDS na naman, DSS is the voyage estimating system of a subsidiary of a large. So large American metals company that exists primarily to carry bulk cargoes of coal, oil, ores, and finished products for its parent company. The firm owns some vessels, charters others, and bids for shipping contracts in the open market to carry general cargo. So a voyage estimating system calculates financial and technical voyage details. So financial calculations include ship time cost, like fuel, labor, capital, no? Freight rates for various types of cargo, and port expenses. No? So technical details include a myriad of factors such as ship cargo capacity, speed, port distances, fuel and water consumption, and loading patterns. No? Of course, are covered with the decision support system. Now, to give you an additional discussions related to the topic, I'll just play a video. This is also a global e-business and collaborations related to MIS. Then later on, I will give some additional inputs related to the topic. No? Wait lang. Share lang mo.
Okay, everyone, we are going to start off here on chapter 2, taking a look at global electronic or e-business and some collaboration. This chapter is going to be pretty acronym heavy at some point and definition heavy. So as you look through this, you may, I'm sure there's a lot of definitions that you're going to know and you're going to understand because they're just part of the world in which we live today. And I don't know that I have to spend a lot of time teaching you about what Zoom is. I feel like we probably have this one down, but oddly enough, that's part of this chapter, learning about how we collaborate and talk today. I also feel like you probably have a pretty good handle on social media. So I've left those parts out of our slides because I just don't know that we need them. But there are some other things that we'll get started and talk about in our chapters here. So in the last chapter, we talked about chapter 1, we talked a little bit about some of the business processes. And those were those individual activities or chains of activities, a series of activities in which individual departments undertake to fulfill the order, the mission, or the the charge that that particular department has. And in your travels, once you make it into the business environment, you're going to come across some of these processes. And unfortunately, you're probably also going to be asked at some level to map them out. And the chapter starts to talk about some of these business processes. And the reason that I grabbed one of the images from the chapter to bring it here was to talk a little bit about it, but also talk a little bit about the functions of it and some of the terminology that's used in it, so that the first time you interact with one of these things, you understand what in the world this is. So here, in this example, we may just have something, an overall business process here that includes sales, accounting, and some level of manufacturing. So a salesman may go out and generate an order from visiting a customer site, submit the order to whatever your accounting system may be, your CRM, your customer resource management system. Depending on the size of the order, before it's processed, it may do a credit check to make sure that that customer pays their bills on time, does everything they need to do. Pending an approval, it will do two things. It will start to generate an invoice so we can try to get paid right away, but it also sends over to the manufacturing floor in order to begin to assemble and ultimately ship that product. So this brings in three different business functions: the sales function, the accounting function, and the manufacturing or production function. And that last function there, the ship function, may even go to another department out for logistics or something of that nature. Each one of these different kind of functions that goes across here, you see that dotted line. The terminology for each one of these is a swim lane. And I don't recall reading it in the book that talks about this. And these functions that cross these, the lines, move into the different swim lanes, just are those things where it's a handoff to a different department. And whatever that business process is, that handoff or move to a different place, move to a different department there, that handoff is often where the business process breaks down the most. There could be a problem submitting the order from sales to accounting or from accounting to manufacturing. That's often where we have the biggest problem in some of these business processes. But I just want to make sure we understand that the terminology of each one of these, there's the sales swim lane, the accounting swim lane, and the manufacturing and production swim lane that goes horizontal here. Spend any time in this class, at least I don't think, working in Visio. I don't know that we have access to the virtual lab to work in Visio. There are other classes in which you'll get a chance to work in Visio. I think for my project management class, we'll spend some time working in Visio, but we will not spend it here. I just want you to understand, you're going to see one of these things. Project managers love to create workflow diagrams like this, or a business process diagram, and the swim lanes. And you can see something that has 4 million swim lanes in it. And that is not that unusual. I just want you to be aware that they're coming. So let's talk about the business processes as they relate to IS or information systems, and what some of the things that we may see out there. Business units use the different systems to fulfill whatever their missions could be, like I had just mentioned. And in the operations department, we might see something called a TPS, or a transaction processing system. And we interact with these every single day. And this is a computerized system that performs and records daily transactions that we need to conduct the business. And that could be that salesman going out to the department, to the customers, to get sales order information, and put that into the CRM or the ordering system to start placing and processing that order. To a point, it can go into hotel reservations or shipping systems, but whatever the particular transaction or the individual daily record that happens is a transaction, some kind of something changing hands. And that's a TPS system. And you can think of a point of sale system. We talked about those for all the folks that had been working in service industries. We talked about the POS last time, but also every cash register at Target or Walmart or anywhere else, to a point, is a TPS system at its core level, where we're recording the transaction and the sale of toothpaste and clothing or anything else that we're selling. So basically a transaction processing system, TPS. Another one that we want to talk about, at least as it's related to IS, is business intelligence, often just called BI. And in BI, this is where the data, the software tools that we're going to use, we bring them together to organize and analyze any data or information that we have, and then provide that data, those graphics, those charts, or just rows and rows of data to our decision makers in the business, whoever they may be, middle managers, senior managers, C-suite, whoever they may be in our business. BI is the department that we're typically going to rely on. Now, at various companies, BI could be called anything, anything and everything. And it just kind of depends. You'll have to learn a little bit about your business, your company, to understand what it is they're called there. The next part of that, and tied to BI, are things called DSS, or decision support systems. These use data either from internal or external sources, and they try to help the decision makers by giving them answers to what if scenarios or hypothetical situations, or they help them with backup for decisions. So a decision support system might come into play when we're trying to figure out if we want to do markdowns for clothing lines or for certain products. They can take into consideration past sales records of certain times of the year, certain seasons, like should I run a special on winter clothing in the middle of the summer? Well, probably not. But something that you find that might always be interesting is when you walk into Target in the middle of the winter, there's always swimsuits, typically in the clothing department on the left side. You're like, why in the planet are there swimsuits at Target in the middle of the winter? Well, people go on cruises and vacations in our climate area, anyway, in tropical locations, and those decision support systems and the BI tools have helped Target realize that they need to have swim trunks available for people that are going on vacation, and they sell them every single time. So some of these tools together can help us and decision makers or buyers figure out scenarios, and also maybe what level they need to buy at, looking at trends, weather, external information like weather, people's travel, external sources to help us with some of those decisions. So business intelligence could include BI or DSS and or DSS. Later on, we may talk about some of the tools, the applications, the software applications that are used in this. We're not going to get too far into them right now. Just a couple of names that folks often use. They might use IBM's Cognos, Cognos. They might use Microsoft's Power BI, Power and they might use Tableau, Tableau. Those are some of the three bigger ones that companies often use to analyze their data. And those are the bigger Power BI tools the bigger BI tools that companies are shifting to today. And we'll certainly talk about more tools in the future. Any questions so far with what we have here? Life seems good. Okay. So when I start to talk about what the outcome of some of these tools are, in particular Power BI and Tableau, is this concept of a dashboard, digital dashboard, or just a dashboard. And this displays the information that those business leaders may be looking for in a single screen, and it's typically charts, graphs, dials of the KPIs, or the key performance indicators. So I just threw a couple here, and this might be a dashboard of a particular CIO, and I certainly just Googled dashboard and put an image on here, and this is not atypical of things that I've seen in my travels. What are different key performance indicators? Well, they can be so many different indicators depending on your particular business or what that leader wants to see. So some ones before we have here, we have like gross profit, or EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. You can have admin, market, those could be some expenses, cash flow projections, pending orders. So all of these could be different key performance indicators for this particular business. Each industry kind of has their best practice on what some of these can be, and they certainly can change from industry to industry. or even business to business within the same industry. But digital dashboards kind of help to take those mountains and mountains and rows of data in maybe Excel or a spreadsheet and put them into a quickly digestible format that you see here that is just easier to read for most folks. So more and more we just move into the dashboard format because, well, this is easier to digest. So let's start talking about some enterprise applications. And these are applications which span functional areas within the business. So, and this is all about executing the processes. So I want you to take yourself away from Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily mean those things. Those are certainly applications that are used across the business, but they're not the ones that we would be considering as enterprise applications. So these might be some ones that we'll talk about in just a few minutes here, but you'll see we might have an enterprise relationship or enterprise planning system. So an enterprise system, enterprise resource planning system. And this brings in sales, marketing, manufacturing, HR, finance. So if somebody sells something to a client, it might go through manufacturing and marketing, account and finance. And it just brings all those functional applications together into a single piece of software. There are some huge players in that market. The one that folks think of often and the most, and it's a cloud platform, is Salesforce. Salesforce can help with your CRM, your customer resource management. It can help with supply chain, ordering, replenishment, just in time. It can help with the manufacturing, at least organizing all of that data. And it certainly is there for helping with marketing outreach and maintaining information and contact with your customers. So if you think of an ERP system, Salesforce is usually one that will bubble up to the top of that list pretty quickly. In the middle there's a bit of a circle on knowledge management systems, and we'll talk about those just in just a moment as well. So I threw out a whole bunch of acronyms, CRM, and talking about supply chain and some other things. So let's dive into some of those things again. And as I mentioned, is when we were getting started here, this chapter is laying a lot of the foundation around acronyms and definitions that we're going to use for the rest of the semester. So this one is definitely definition heavy, and it's needed though because it's setting us up for some of our future chapters. So the first one we have here is supply chain management, or an SCM system. And this is helping us our company manage our relationship with our suppliers. Say we're building computers. Well, we may have a whole lot of suppliers. We may have suppliers that bring us the cases for the computers, the housing. Certain people bring us the motherboard. Certain people bring us the RAM. We buy hard drives from somewhere else. Certain people bring us all the hardware, like the screws, and maybe the cables all come from different places. Well, we use supply chain management system here that is tied to our production, that knows that what we have in inventory, how many computers we're building that day, and knows that, okay, we're starting to get low on computer housings, and automatically places that order with the supplier. And that's managed all in one system. And my second tab here, or second bullet, is that works across the organization, because that's tied to our sales. Say we just placed an order, a company just placed an order and they needed 5,000 new computers. Well, we only might have 1,000 cases or housing units for the computer in stock, for those computers in stock. Knowing we just had an order for 5,000, the system can automatically place that order for 4,000 more without somebody having to manually intercept that order and do any manual intervention. So a supply chain management system can work with the sales and can work with our suppliers to make sure that we're keeping components moving for our production needs. My third bullet there is using an electronic data interchange to communicate. Now, this is something that I have not found in the book, but this is the way the world communicates. So I have made no bones about that I argue with every textbook I've ever found. And the system is called EDI. Will this appear on a quiz? Probably not, because I haven't found it in the textbook, and I don't want to just go off on tangents like that on you. But an EDI is an electronic way that systems will talk to each other. Rather than spitting out paper orders that someone has to look over and then maybe fax or mail or email to another system, the EDI is an integrated platform across systems that use a common communication language to place those orders electronically and in real time. So the EDI systems are used worldwide in every industry all the time. And I just want you to be aware of and prepared for you going out into the world. And when someone says, oh yeah, that's our EDI system, you don't look at them like they have 6 heads. So just be prepared for what EDI is. Moving on down to the next one there, a CRM system, or a customer relationship management system. And we can take that back to my previous example of Salesforce to a bit. Salesforce, again, is an extremely widely used platform. Take a moment and go to salesforce.com, go to YouTube and type in Salesforce, just so you also have an understanding of what this juggernaut is, because this is a force in the industry. And I want you also to have some concept of what it is. Find a 3-minute video on the overview of Salesforce to at least know what it is and how it works. And there's 4 million iterations of what Salesforce is and does. And I think that will help you to at least have some idea. Who out there is a marketing person? Put your hand up. You're going to come across Salesforce at some point in your life, I promise you. Whether or not you want to, it's coming. And someone put their hand up? Or that you were just putting your hand up electronically in here? Okay, thanks. Salesforce is something that you're going to come across. There are lots of other platforms. Oracle has them, and most other companies also have some. A lot of other companies have them as well, but Salesforce is the market leader, or they're just the one that spends the most money on marketing. It could be both. And this is a piece of software that helps to coordinate the activities related with sales, marketing, customer satisfaction, or retention. It's the platform you're going to use to reach out to those customers. Hey, I noticed you haven't placed an order in a little while. Is there something I can help you with? Or, did the last order not go well, and that's the reason you haven't placed it? Or you may be able to take a look at deals and pricing to help, facilitate a new order. It's also the ability. It also gives you the ability to slice and dice your customers in different segments. Allows you to go out into the universe and attract new ones and capture their information as a sales hook. It also allows you to identify those customers that are placing huge and often orders, or often orders, so that you can give them a little extra special attention, and there's a little extra schmoozing and a few extra dinners and a few extra drinks. And if anybody tells you that their company doesn't participate in that, they're lying through their teeth. At some level, every vendor takes somebody to dinner, buys them drinks at a trade show, and does all of that. And at some point, you'll end up at a trade show, I imagine, and you will go to a vendor event and have drinks and dinner from some vendor trying to get you to buy their product. So CRMs are just another one of the enterprise types of applications, just like supply chain management. Another one that I have up here is a knowledge management one, and that was that center circle in this triangle on the bottom right corner here. And this is a system that is designed to allow for capturing of employee knowledge, tacit knowledge, and that's that expressed, written down knowledge that employees or companies have and their expertise. And I say it's designed to do that. There's an inherent problem with knowledge management systems. And the problem with them is the people. People don't often want to give up their knowledge and what they know about the world and what they know about the company and what they know as expertise, because people start to think that by giving up this knowledge, I am now going to be replaceable. The reason that I am irreplaceable in this company is because I know things that no one else knows, or I can do things no one else can do. Unfortunately, we are all replaceable, and someone else can learn to do the things that we're doing. Maybe they'll stumble a little bit. Maybe it'll take them a little longer for the uptake, but there isn't anything anybody does that someone else can't learn at some point. So the problem with knowledge management systems is getting people to populate their knowledge into these systems. Do you have to have a big, elaborate, expensive knowledge management application that costs so much money? No. Companies that are using Microsoft Office 365 do a great job of capturing that knowledge management in OneNote that has different tabs. Can you capture it in Excel? You can sure capture it in Excel. Companies use SharePoint. They can use wikis. We're familiar with Wikipedia, but there's smaller versions and internal versions on intranets that companies and departments will kind of do a brain dump and share that information there. So in your travels, you will also come across some kind of knowledge management system. It can be as simple as a series of Word documents uploaded into SharePoint, and it can be as complex as a custom design system that will allow you to do that. It can be free like a wiki, and it can be paid like a custom developed application. But you're going to come across one of these at some point. For me, I tend to push people towards Microsoft OneNote. Typically, you're already using Microsoft products, and if you have the certain licensing, you already have OneNote, and you can search it, and people can copy and paste the screenshots in there, upload documents, and it's just easier. And again, you typically already have a lot of that licensing. So let's just talk now about business, commerce, and government. And these things we've all experienced at some point because we've potentially have driver's licenses, or we've voted, or we've, goodness, maybe done student loans, something like that. And we have taken part in the digitalization of a lot of these businesses. So electronic business, just e-business. This is the use of some kind of digital technology and the internet to execute major business processes within the company. This is also e-commerce. Think of a brick and mortar store that also has an online presence. I don't want to include Amazon necessarily in this right away because it didn't at first have a brick and mortar presence, but let's also include Amazon in this because it is just e-commerce. It's doing all of its business electronically. You can think Walmart and its e-business side that's doing all of its work there. When you come across the word internet, the I is always capitalized. Food for thought, not on the quiz, just random stupid fact. It is what it is. And the next one down, the e-government, refers to the same kind of thing, the application of the internet networking technologies to digitally enable government. And this is maybe going online to reserve a spot at the DMV, or to fill out online renewal for your car for registration, or to renew your driver's license, to apply for something, anything like that. E-government is the digitalization of anything to deal with the government. It just gets its big fancy name, e-government, which sounds very imposing, but it's not. So talking about some tools for collaboration, I already mentioned this to a point, Wiki for sure, those internal wikis. Instant messaging to a point, every company is using some, I can't say every company because that's a gross exaggeration. A lot of companies are using Slack. I know many of you probably also have some experience with Slack, maybe even as a friend group. If you're gaming, you might use Slack. Companies are using Slack as well. Teams is certainly another one that folks are using, and email, of course, for collaboration. Virtual meeting platforms, Zoom like crazy, Teams all day, and a lot of schools are using Google Hangouts. I don't know as many businesses that are using Google Hangouts, but they exist. Most companies have gone to Zoom, Teams, Cisco, those kinds of things. And the cloud collaboration services, Google Apps, OneDrive, SharePoint, and I don't know a single company on the planet using IBM products or IBM Notes, but they could be out there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Because I work for Highmark and we've transitioned now from Skype to Teams.
How many times?
I was just wondering, is there a reason why companies are deciding to no longer utilize Skype? Money.
Also, Skype is awful. Delete that from the recording. I'm sorry.
Yes, pretty horrible.
It is. They typically do it because Skype requires, and I'll give you the example for Highmark. I worked for AHN for a little while. A lot of companies are going. What you said, you're going to Teams?
Teams, yes.
Yeah. So when you buy an Office 365 E3 license, which is what most people buy, most companies buy for their employees, it already includes Teams for free. If you want to give people Skype, it's an extra license of $5 per user per month on average, depending upon whether or not you're a for-profit or nonprofit company. If you're nonprofit, I think it's $2 or $3. If you're a for-profit, it's $5. So you're already getting everybody an Office 365 E3 license, which can cost upwards of $5 to $12 per user per month, which includes Teams, which is communication tools. Why on the planet are you going to buy another application for an additional between $2 and $5 per user per month for another platform to talk when you already bought one that's built in? And that's typically what it is. It's a cost-saving move. I also just gave you everything you needed to know about Microsoft licensing in about 15 seconds. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Office 365, I'm sorry, the Skype, I mean, it's just, it is awful to work with, goodness. And I'm a Mac and I could never get it to work on my computer, ever. Teams at least works. And I suspect at some point, there's a lot of folks that are leaving Skype and Skype for Business and moving to Teams. And there's a bit of a fallout with Slack as well, because people are already using Teams again, and then they may be using Slack, which is free, but if you want some HIPAA compliance around that, or you want message archiving, it actually gets quite pricey. So people are moving to Teams because they already paying for that license in the Office 365 license pack. And so it's interesting to see all the movement between these platforms.
Okay.
Any other questions there? Okay. In the bottom right corner of this slide, I think we've dealt with the term synchronous and asynchronous before. Right now we're meeting synchronously. We're all having at some level a face-to-face interaction somehow, or we're meeting together in class time. And this is just a remote synchronous session, bottom left corner, using video conferencing. We are not co-located. If we were co-located and synchronous, we'd be in the classroom together, and we'd have to be all masked up, and who wants that right now? It's nice to, the nice thing about this is we can be semi-comfortable. In the upper right corner, we have asynchronous, and if we were asynchronous and co-located, we would probably, I'd be posting videos to you, even though we're all in the same building or in the same area, and you'd be watching them as you could. And then the last one down there, asynchronous and remote, I would probably just be posting videos and you'd all be at home watching them and working through our lectures and completely zoning out, even more so than you might be now. So just think about it: synchronous, co-located, same room; asynchronous and co-located, maybe in the same building and reading email or watching videos that have already been recorded, perhaps. Synchronous and remote is exactly what we're doing right now, where everybody's doing this in real time. We're just far away from each other. And then asynchronous and remote, emails, we're looking at blogs, we're watching maybe pre-done videos, we're reading content that has been created at other times, and we're just now getting to that. I have a feeling and I'm sure there's a few questions in the quiz about these 4 different types: synchronous, co-located, remote, and asynchronous, around time and space in the quiz. And again, there are 100 questions in the bank, and you guys are going to get a random 10. But just make sure that you're cool with those concepts, because they could pop up for you. So I think we're in the last couple of slides here, so we'll be ending about when I thought we would. Again, this is not too heavy of a chapter, and I don't know that anybody's too upset about having a good bit of their evening back. It doesn't seem like I'm seeing a lot of frownies. No frownies. No frownies in the chat. This is around some terminology, and I want to explain what some of these concepts, or what these people do, because they're a little nebulous. So the IS department, of course, this is what we're talking about, right? This is what we're learning about. And this is the unit of the business that's responsible for the IT, the data services for the company. And I say typically because sometimes data lives in its own department that may be outside of IS, or each department may have its own data team as well. Finance could have a data team, operations could have a data team. So while IT is always probably going to live with IS, that data team could be duplicated a bunch of different times all around the department. And Natalie, you said you work for Highmark. There's 5,000 data teams, and I think the data teams have a data team. So there's a lot of them. And if anybody's working out there for UPMC, it's certainly the same. And I'm including hardware, software, networking, data storage, and BI in that. We have programmer teams, and those are the ones that are typically either working on applications, they might be working on web services, anything like that, are the ones that are doing the great job and the very talented job of building code. And it is not in my skill set. I was a terrible coder. I changed my major after the first couple of coding classes when I just found out that it's just not in my skill set. That is not where my skills are. I'm not entirely sure where my skills are, but I know they're not in coding. Our system analysts are our team of talent that can go out and work with the end users and try to understand what it is that they may need, what it is that they're looking for. They may be to help solve their problems. They could be anything from engineers. They could include project business analysts, project managers to a point. They could include project management team, not necessarily project managers. That's a different group of people, but the systems analysts could be on project management teams helping us to deliver project and new initiatives that are coming. They could be help desk folks, so they could be working, helping you with anything from password resets to rolling out new equipment. Systems analyst is definitely kind of all-encompassing and can mean different things in different companies. Our IS or IT managers are the ones that are managing the day-to-day operations, anything from managing the help desk, managing the system administrator, server managers, storage managers, anything above. They could be managing the data teams, the network teams, telephony, and telephony is the fancy word. It looks like telephony, but it's pronounced telephony. And those are the ones that might be managing the telephone services, cellular or desk wired phones. And they can be anywhere of that group. And now we get down to the C's. And these are my favorite. What is, and this is group participation here, what is the CIO? What does the CIO do? Who is the CIO? So we've already talked about this, that I'm the CIO for my company. What is my role? You can chat, you can take yourself off of mute, whatever makes you happy. Tell me what the CIO for the company is. What does this person do?
I guess like don't they kind of like manage like information and like the organization staff?
Okay, they certainly have a level of management and oversight. That's absolutely true. I see oversees the use of infotech, analyzes tech processes, collect information. They do a lot of this, absolutely.
So I would guess that the chief information officer is probably responsible for communicating with the upper management and trying to explain to the upper management people how the tech and the data can improve the business. So they kind of bridge the tech world and the business world.
Okay.
They distribute the main information as well to the other people they work with.
Yep, there's absolutely a level of sharing information, communication. Implement computer technologies, absolutely. So I'm going to kind of pull all of these together, implementing computer technologies to make the company efficient and up to date on trends, for sure. So let me pull a lot of these together. Optimize the company's technologies, absolutely. Let me pull a lot of these together. And I'm going to start off kind of with the definition. William, do you like Will or William? What do you like?
Will is good.
Big Willie Smalls. Was it Will? Big Willie Smiles? I don't know. Big Will Smith. What was his song? I don't know. So I want to bring in something that you said, Will, because it was the bridging of the tech and the business. My job at its highest level is bridging that tech, Big Willie style. Thank you. I couldn't think of what it was. Someone put in the chat Big Willie style. I was like, what is that? My job really includes bridging the tech and the business together. what is it? What are our business problems? What is the appropriate, and what it might be the appropriate application of the technology? I am not up to date with all of the technologies, and I wish I could be. There's not room in my brain. If I learn one more technology some days, it's going to push something else out. Like if I learn one more tech, I'm going to forget how to tie my shoes. If I learn one more concept of a network technology, I will forget what blue is. Like sometimes there's just no more room, one thing in, one thing out. But what I have is a really talented group of the things that are on this page: programmers, analysts, IS managers that say, hey, Gary, this is the thing that I think will solve this problem we've been having. Or I will go the other way and talk about the communication. I think, is it Eli? Eli mentioned, which is the communication. It's not just down, it's up. Our end users will keep saying, we have this issue and I hate it. Every time I do X, Y, and Z, and they'll mention it to me, and I will go the opposite way with that and say, we keep having these issues. I'll bring it to the managers that I hear communication from, or I'll bring it to my peers, CFO, COO, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, chief human resource officer, chief executive officer. And I'll say, these are the things I'm hearing from the front line. And here's the technologies. What do you guys think? Let's move forward if it's appropriate. So the communication also works up and down both ways. A lot of times I consider myself the Rosetta Stone. And where I think I've been most successful in my career is that ability to take technical terminology and explain it to our shareholder doctors, explain it to our non-technical leadership, and say, here's what this does, here's the business problem it solves in those non-technical terms and non-technical ways, but then turn around and talk to a programmer behind me in the language that they're comfortable speaking with. Talking to our BI developers, looking at their SQL code and saying, oh, this isn't working, you might want to try this right here, and helping them be successful because I know a little bit about their world as well. And part of my role also is I'm the protector of our data. I am the one that is charged with making sure that data of our 400,000 plus patients is safe from intrusion, from theft, from being modified every single day. So apart from just my tech role, part of the CIO is to guard our company's data, and that's our patient data, but also our trade secrets, our company knowledge, our data, our facts, or anything else. So I'm also a guardian of all of those things internal. So, I want to pull together all of the things that you guys said. I'm looking for appropriate technologies to solve our business things. I am the marrying of tech and business together in kind of one person. I am the communicator from top down, bottom up, sideways. I help and I look at our tech implementations and make sure they're right for our business. And I certainly pull the plug on projects that I don't think are right. I am the killer of budget items. Nope, this is not happening. Sorry, you won that 2 or 3 $300,000 thing. That's not happening. I certainly, let's see. Robbie said to make tech advancement decisions. Absolutely. The team will come at me with a couple of different options and we'll discuss it. And I'll say, you're good to go with this one right here. So I certainly do that. And I make decisions on which systems to implement and which ones to table for a different time. So you guys all had some really great things of what it is that I do on a daily basis. And my answer of what do I do is all of those things at the same time. And I'll tell you, in my company and in some other companies, depending on the size, we're also the next bullet point down, that chief security officer. Sometimes you'll see chief security officer, sometimes you'll see chief information security officer. So it's a CSO or a CISO. My other title is chief information security officer. And that encompasses the thing that I mentioned, where part of my job is to also look out for the security of all of our data, both patient data and non-patient data, our financials, our financial records, our internal documents, our company documents that we use to run our business, our communications, and all of those things. So the chief security officer is sometimes carved out as its own role. And sometimes it's mixed in with somebody else's role, like it is in my case. But our job is to protect our data in any way that we need to. And we may have different teams that work on security, as I do. We have a team of folks that just looks at perimeter security, making sure that physically we're secure, virtually we're secure as we can be. The next one down, a chief knowledge officer, kind of takes into the role of, this person is here as the curator of the company's, the things the company knows how to do, its trade secrets, the knowledge that individual departments might have, how we do business, our competitive landscapes, how the company operates, its history, where it may be going. It's kind of that person that is trying to curate all of those bits and pieces together. I will say that this one is a little less common. A chief knowledge officer isn't as common as some of the other ones that we'll talk about. A privacy officer, it's not always common that a privacy officer is a chief privacy officer, but we will sometimes have a privacy or compliance department. And this person, their role is designed to make sure that the data of patients or employees or customers is safe and protected. And this one I've seen from time to time. It's not as common as well. So CKO, CPO, not as huge. The next one down, chief data officer. Depending on the type of company that we're talking about, this one does exist fairly frequently. Companies that are doing a lot of data analytics, whether it be financial, whether it be operations, whether it be decision support kind of data, a chief data officer, and sometimes you'll even see a chief data evangelist or a data evangelist as the title. That's pretty common. And this person is exactly that. They may be a data scientist, could often have a PhD at some level in some type of data analysis. And this person is there leading the charge on how that company is going to organize, or execute all of their data initiatives. Chief Technology Officer, I will sometimes see this one. I'll sometimes see CIO, and I will sometimes see them used interchangeably. The Chief Information Officer one tends to be a little bit more encompassing, often, of everything, hardware and software, data, and everything. A Chief Technology Officer, when I've seen it used, there's often also a CIO. When I see a CIO, that's usually it. When I see a CTO, I often also see a CIO, meaning that they've split the hardware and the data apart, and they've turned it into two roles. There are some companies that think, look, we're going to be trendy and we're going to just have a CTO, and that means CIO. And that's fine. You could see that as well. And this person is there around more of, in my opinion, the hardware side of things. But they could also be looking out for the IT and the security as well. But I tend to see them more on companies that are more hardware focused. They may be manufacturing or creating hardware, and they spend less of their time worried about the data and analytics or protecting data side of things. You know, they might be a manufacturer of some type of hardware equipment. But these are some of the acronyms on the IS side that you're going to come across in your travels if you haven't already, and some of the background on what some of those roles and whatnot. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on these? Any other ones you've seen you have questions about? No. Okay. I spelled governance wrong on that. That's funny. IT governance. This one, every company should have some type of governance in place, and this is the kind of the ethics, the set of rules and procedures, the strategy for using IT within the organization, and almost everyone has to agree at some level to adhere to the IT governance policies of how you will, you won't use the hardware, the software, the data within the company, to make sure that there's some level of accountability around structure, updating,
Okay, so as what Didius mentions, that of course an MIS is a while ago, we have a question actually, no, that we need to address on with regards to the global, of course, MIS. No? We need to consider also the e-business, e-commerce, and e-government. No, maybe somebody from you are now working in a government. No, the system and technologies we have just described are transforming firms' relationship with customers, employees, suppliers, and logistic partners into digital relationships, no, among networks and the internet. So much business is now enabled by a based upon digital networks, no, that we use the terms electronic business and electronic commerce. No? So e-business or electronic business refers to the use of digital technology and the internet to execute the major business processes in the enterprise. So e-business includes activities of the internal management of the firm and for coordination with suppliers and other business partners. It also includes electronic commerce or e-commerce. So e-commerce is a part of e-business, take note of it, that deals with the buying and selling of the goods and services over the internet. So it also encompasses activities supporting those market transactions such as advertising, marketing, customer support, security, delivery, and payment. So the technology associated with e-business have also brought about similar changes in the public sector because government, no, on all levels are using internet technology to deliver information and services to citizens, employees, and business with which they work. So e-government refers to the application of the internet and networking technologies to digitally enable government in public sector agencies in relationship with citizens, businesses, and other arms of the government. So in addition to improving delivery of government services, e-government makes government operations more efficient and also empowers citizens by giving them easier access to information. Okay, so let's say for example, no, citizens in some states can renew their driver license or apply for unemployment benefits online. No, in Venezuela, no, maybe you've heard na yung pagkuha ng mga business permit, no, online na halos. No? So the internet has become a powerful tool for instantly mobilizing interest groups for political actions and actually at present, no, since ano ngayon, mag-election, di ba may mga fundraising using the social media and ano. So at present now we had also a question a while ago, as I mentioned. The number one question is, what are business processes and how are they related to information system? No? So a business process is a logically related set of activities that define how specific business tasks are performed. And it represents a unique way in which an organization coordinates work, information, and knowledge. So managers need to pay attention to business processes because they determine how well the organizations can execute its business, and they may be a source of strategic advantage. So there are business processes specific to each of the major business functions. But many business processes are cross-functional. Information system automate parts of a business processes, and they can help organize, redesign, and streamline this process. Number two questions earlier is about the how do systems serve the different management groups in a business? No? Systems, no, serving operational management are transaction processing system, no, in TPS, such as payroll or order processing that track the flow of the daily routine transaction necessary to conduct business. In the other hand, the management information system or MIS produce, no, it produces reports serving middle management by considering or condensing information from TPS, and these are not highly analytical. So another is decision support system or BSS, support management decisions that are unique and rapidly changing using advanced analytical model. All of these type of system provide business intelligence that helps managers, no, and enterprise employees make more informed decisions. This system for business intelligence serve multiple levels of management and include executive support system, yung ESS, for senior management that provide data in the form of graphs, charts, and dashboard delivered by a portal using many sources of internal and external information. Question number 3 earlier is about how do systems that link the enterprise improve organizational performance. We need to take note that enterprise applications are designed to coordinate multiple functions in business processes. Enterprise system integrate the key internal business processes for a firm into a single software system to improve coordination and decision making. So supply chain management help the firm manage each relationship with supplier to optimize planning, of course, sourcing, manufacturing, and delivery of products and services. Customer relationship management or yung CRM systems, coordinate the business processes surrounding the firm's customers. Knowledge management system enable firms to optimize the creation, sharing, and distribution of knowledge. Now, intranet and extranet are private corporate networks based on internet technology that assemble information from disparate systems. Extranet makes portion of a private corporation or corporate intranets and available to outside. Pag intranet, talagang pure within the area lang. Let's say kung San Miguel Corporation, sa kanila lang, nagkakashare sila ng mga data information. Intranet yon. Pag extranet, open siya from other places. Now next, the next question will be, why are some systems for collaboration and teamwork so important and what technologies do they use? So, collaboration is working with others to achieve shared and explicit goals. So, collaboration and teamwork have become increasingly important in business because of the globalization. So, the decentralization of decision making and growth in jobs where interaction is the primary value-adding activity because collaboration is believed to enhance innovation, productivity, quality, and customer service. Effective collaboration today requires a supportive organizational culture as well as information system and tools for collaborative work. Collaboration tools include email, instant messaging, wikis, video conferencing system, virtual world, social networking system, cell phone, internet, internet collaboration platforms such as Google Apps, Sites, Microsoft SharePoint, and Lotus Notes. So now, the last questions that we raised earlier is, what is the role of the information system function in a business? So the information system department is the formal organization's unit responsible for information technology services. And if you are presently working in a company, either private or public, they have an IS department or IT department or ITSD department or MIS department. It depends. They are the one who are responsible for maintaining the hardware, software, data storage, and networks that comprise the firm's IT infrastructure. So the department consists of specialists such as programmers, system analysts, project leaders, and information system managers, and often headed by CIO. Okay. A while ago, the video discussed about the Chief Data Officer. Here in the Philippines, Data Privacy Officer tayo. Yung Data Privacy Act of 2012. That is under the Privacy, Data Privacy Commission. Yun po yung meron sa Pilipinas. Okay? So, I think that's it for today. It's already 2:30, the next meeting we're going to discuss about the I think the next topic will be focused on information system, organization, and strategy. So I don't know if somebody wanted